Hello everyone, I'm Rosphere, and in this video I'm going to talk about the massive schism between the player base of World of Warcraft and the game devs. Now this isn't a video that I had planned on making, but because of recent events and things that have been posted on Twitter, and Asmongold amplifying that message on his stream, I felt like now would be a better time than ever to make this video. So this is a topic that's really important to me because I've been on both sides of this. I've been a player and I've been a game dev. And being on the game dev side of things can be one of the worst experiences possible, especially with looking at the way the player base in World of Warcraft treats the devs. Now, I'm going to hop right in to showing a clip from Asmongold's stream where he's reading off one of the responses from one of the Blizzard devs on these private forums or these private feedback forums that they have set up.
Part of why I'm skeptical is the mythic raiding theorycraft community is to a first order approximation, a huge social engine whose raison d'etre, I don't know what the fuck that means, is specifically to decide and enforce that everyone in the community uses the same talents. Oh, whose reason to exist? Reason to be, okay, I thought so. It seems like a French word, but yeah, I just, context. I don't think that we could do anything with the talent design that would easily change that there are like entire discords and websites that employ people full-time, all based on the concept of telling people what their talents are best and spreading the social norm that they shouldn't use other talents. Well, if that's the case, then why do you keep trying to muddy the waters?
Alright, so I can't really be upset with Asmongold for not understanding exactly what the dev was trying to say, because the way it was said was, to be frank, rather rude and arrogant. Now, when you're trying to get an idea across to somebody else, or a feeling across to somebody else, being rude and just being an asshole is not really the best way to go about it. So, to explain the idea behind what the dev was trying to say, I'm going to use an analogy, and it took me a little while, but I think I came up with a really fair comparison that everybody can understand. Alright, let's imagine you're a chef, and you own a restaurant. Everybody loves the food that you make, and they all come from around the world just to eat your food. You're very proud of what you do, and very proud of the fact that whenever you come out with a new dish, people fall in love with it, and they love everything about it, the way it looks, the taste, the preparation on the plate, the way that all the food items are ordered on the plate. They love everything about it. And of course, there's always some criticism of your food too. Like there's some people that are maybe a vegetarian and they only want to experience one side of what you make, and that's totally fine. Now, let's imagine that there is a speed eater that shows up one day and he orders whatever your, most popular dish is, and you set the plate in front of him and he sits there and starts separating every little piece of the food before he starts to eat. And he's like, okay, the moist food's got to go over here, the potatoes got to go over there, steaks over here, spicy food over there. And he orders it in a very specific way that it has to be eaten in so that he can eat it in the fastest possible time. So as a chef, this is kind of weird to you because it's like, I thought I just cooked food because people enjoyed what I cooked. This idea of wanting to eat it faster is kind of odd to me. So, but whatever, it's just one guy. I'll go ahead and order or put the food in the very specific order that he asked so that he can have it the way he wants it, so that he can enjoy the food and be happy, because that's what I want to do as a chef. I want to make all my customers happy. So everything's great, right? Like he eats your meal, he really enjoys it, he ate it really fast. Now, this guy goes home, everything seems like it's going to be good, and he comes back the next day. But this time, he's not there to order a meal from you. He's there outside the front of your restaurant with pamphlets that explain exactly how to eat your meals the fastest way possible and how to order those meals. As more time passes, more people are starting to use this pamphlet on how to order your dishes, and at the same time, these people using the pamphlet are actively berating and yelling at the customer base that just enjoys the meals the way they're prepared, or doesn't even know that the pamphlet exists. And you, as the chef, putting all this time and effort into preparing the food and creating new and innovative ways for people to enjoy it, are also being asked by this same group of customers to change that food as you're creating it so that they can enjoy it in a much more fast and efficient manner. So as the chef, you want everybody to experience and enjoy your food to the fullest. That's both sides of your customer base, And so what you do is you try to please everybody. And eventually you figure out, well, I can't do that. These people are just always going to want it a very specific way. And if it's not that way, they won't enjoy it. And I don't really want to create food for people who are constantly asking me to change it and then yelling at my other customer base and making them leave my restaurant. So eventually what you do is you take all your food for your next dish, throw it in a blender, blend it up, dump it on a plate, and smash it on the table. And you say, here you go, eat it. Now, I know that sounds kind of maybe abstract, but that's really what they're doing in muddying the waters, right? That's why they're muddying the waters, because they don't want these people to be able to figure it out. They're making it intentionally complex to mess with these people and try and drive them away from the game. At least in my mind, as a dev, that's what I would be doing, because they're making the game less enjoyable for the majority of the player base. So I know a lot of people are probably thinking, oh, well, instead of muddying the waters, why don't they just make it so easy that everybody can figure it out, and then these people who have full-on jobs doing nothing but just theory crafting would lose their jobs because everybody would know what to do because it would already be figured out and it would be so easy, right? Well, sure, that's one way they could do it, but then that would drive literally everybody away from the game, right? If you're making, let's go back to the chef analogy, right? So if you have a big plate of blended up slop, right, it still might taste good. Some of it might taste bad because you hit a pocket of grossness, but it might taste good in some places, right? But if you have a dry, baked, skinless, boneless chicken breast with no salt or any seasoning on it, I mean, what's better? One's really simple and you know exactly what it is. The other one, I mean, at least it has something interesting to it, right? So now in my analogy, the theory crafters were the speed eaters that were creating the pamphlets, right? So I know that there's a lot of you that are probably like, oh, you know, these theory crafters, they don't really treat the community the way that you're saying they do. They don't yell at people. They don't berate them. They don't treat them badly, any of that stuff. Now, I would beg to differ, and I'm going to show you a clip here from Asmongold's stream where he read off what one of these theory crafters was saying about the general player base of World of Warcraft.
Complaining about the masses is facetious. The masses have consisted of a loud yelling of ignorant, uninformed players since day one of vanilla. That is the entire reason behind the genesis of the private forums and the influencer Discord. Yet surprisingly, the masses weren't an issue in the past. Probably because the team at the time actually understood the best way to obtain good feedback was not by alienating and marginalizing the actual rational voices of folks who are willing to put in the time and the effort. It took a long time for me to step back and realize how incredibly fucked up it was that the WoW community consists of so many players, especially theory crafters, that put so much time and effort into improving the game with zero compensation. And many were happy to do so.
I don't know about anybody else, but that was one of the most rude, arrogant, and condescending things I've ever heard somebody say in my entire life. Like, it's almost on the level of let them eat cake. That person literally thinks that they are the end-all, be-all God of I know what's best for the game, and you need to shut up and listen to me. And to be honest, that's what they're complaining about the devs for. That's literally the thing that they're complaining about. All right, so I got to stop myself here because that comment, and honestly, I hate this term, but it has me so triggered. When I first heard it, I was so upset that I just wanted to punch a wall. But getting past that, theory crafters, when it comes down to it, have made, in my experience, some of the worst people when it comes to giving feedback on a game because they don't really understand what makes game design or what makes a game fun from a game design standpoint. And at the same time, they make really bad game developers for the exact same reason. They just don't really understand what makes games fun. Like, they'll look at numbers and they'll see certain things and they'll be like, oh, that must be fun. That's not the case. I mean, it's literally not how game design works if you want to make a good game. Alright, so branching off of that, one of the very first game design classes that I took in college, the professor looked at the class and said, just because you're good at playing games doesn't mean you'll be good at making them. Now, that holds especially true for theory crafters because, honestly, most of them just want to be the idea guy. And in game design, or making games, that job doesn't exist. I know a lot of people want to be that, but I mean, it's just that job doesn't exist. And when I started school for game design, there was about 80-ish people that started the same semester that I did that were in the same degree program that I was in. And out of those 80 people, I think maybe 60% of them graduated. I don't have the exact number on that, but I know of one other person other than myself, of the people that graduated, that are actually working on games. Most people who go into school for game design are not actually good at making games and will never have a job working on games. Now, you don't have to take my word for it. I actually have an interview from somebody at Blizzard that said this exact thing, and I'm going to play that clip now.
But honestly, like half of the class was there by default. They were like, yeah, I want to make games, but I don't really know why. I don't really know what it means. Yeah. They don't know what they're getting to. And most of them just drop, or, well, most of them, a lot of them drop, or they don't make it because it's actually not their thing, or they're struggling. And I remember this one thing that really like was big for me is the first day at school, at that 3D school. I don't know if it's the same here, but the director of the school came to the class, and he was like, I hope you guys all like make it and enjoy the school and stuff, but you guys have to know that at the end, maybe 3 or 4 people in this entire class, I think we were like 15, or maybe 2 or 3 people, will make it in the game industry. So it was like, well, everybody was like scared because we all want to make it. And when I think about it, he was completely right.
So I hope I helped shed some light on why Blizzard's making some of these game design decisions, because it really feels like they're doing it specifically to fight against this group of theory crafters and players that they view as inherently toxic to the main community that plays the game. So by muddying the waters enough, they think they can make the game to the point where nobody can figure out what's best, and then everybody will just get to pick whatever they want. So they're implementing all these different systems that interact with each other and have different synergies in different ways, so that it becomes impossible to completely figure out, even though of course there's always a best way. It takes much, much longer to actually figure out what that best way is. Alright, thank you all for watching. I have a video on covenants that I'll be making next, and eventually I'm looking to get around to making a warrior video similar to Preacher's legacy of videos that he had a while back that he was doing, which were really great, but I want to kind of put my own spin on that one specifically for warriors. And yeah, thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one.